You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode 43, Luthor's Incense Menace. Hello, and welcome to the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name's Ed, and 1,000 miles over there to my left is another host, Mr. Steeven Orr.
Hiya.
So, yeah, I was going to say, Doug says you need some headphones that crank. Need some Bose.
Well, I got these headphones because I think I was on Amazon and I was looking at some, not Bose, those are, or even Beats. They're just way too expensive. But
right.
I was looking at the brand that I recognized, but there was all these comments. It was like, no, don't get these. Get these instead. You've never heard of them, but they're great. And so many people were saying that I got them, and they're pretty awesome. I couldn't tell you what Soundcore is the brand. Never heard of that before.
I've never heard of Soundcore either.
Doug's ready, by the way.
Okay. All right. So what's up with all these balloons from China?
I don't know. I haven't been paying a lot of attention lately, and then suddenly it just seems like every third tweet is about balloons.
Man.
And at first I was like, why is everybody talking about balloons? What's going on there? And I had to dig. I didn't dig deep, but
right.
Doesn't take long to figure out what's going on. But yeah, this balloon, they shot it down, and then, oh my gosh, they found out that there was a balloon when Trump was president and he didn't tell anybody. And oh, now there's more balloons. And it's just like,
well, I was running over those comments in my head about Trump not saying anything about balloons while he was in office. Now, I would submit that it's not that he didn't say anything. It's that, pardon my language, his stupid ass didn't read his daily briefs. And so he didn't know he truly did not know about it because he didn't want to know.
Yeah.
How many times over his presidency did he just come out and say that he didn't this and he didn't that and he did? Something like this would have come across his desk on a piece of paper for him to read.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't believe it's that he hid. I just truly believe it's that the butthole did not know.
He had no clue. He was too busy worrying about the force of toilets flushing, how you got to flush them more than once. And because he wouldn't shut up about that.
Stuff being banned on Twitter. And it's like, get out of here, man. That's okay.
It's one of those things that unless Fox News was talking about it, he probably had no idea.
Right.
So,
and that's why he knew, because he, I don't know, listened to Fox or watched it or whatever. It's, surrounded by these people who, although admittedly, Trump did not surround himself with people much higher up the evolutionary ladder than he himself was, because he couldn't deal with, it was, and I cannot say that I have been a fan of any president, but I will say that President Obama surrounded himself with people that were better than he was at everything that they did, Now, whether he listened to them or not or whatever, I don't know, but he was surrounded. He surrounded himself with really good people to use if he was going to need them. Yeah. So Trump, I don't think did that. I don't really think that Biden has done a really good job of doing that either.
Yeah.
My thought has always been a smart man will always surround themselves with people. Well, but with people who are smarter than they are. If you need help,
I'm the manager of our department at work, and I have a lot of people that are much smarter than me. And that's why we're a successful department. That's why we are one of the more highly profitable departments in the company.
Well, if you have a problem, why are you going to turn to someone that is dumber in that subject than you are?
Exactly.
And be a success. You're not going to be successful. It just,
because otherwise you're doing it all yourself, and there's never a guarantee
there's no help.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So
I've never really been a big fan of most of the presidents either, but loved Obama. Just loved him.
No, he was, but definitely lesser issue of many of the more recent ones.
He hit me though in the non-political way. He was cool. He would do stuff like sing when he was at and some of the stuff he'd say about his wife and junk like that. I love the man.
He was a lot more real than a lot of the other.
Yeah.
He was a lot more Obama than he was president at times.
Right.
Whereas it seems like so many other people have been president. Anytime you see them, they're president.
Yep.
It's like, he kind of let that down or took that coat off or however you want to put it, sometimes. So.
Well, and it's funny because I really liked Biden when he was vice president, and I don't dislike him, but it's like, I'm still, I'm 50 years old. I'm still living paycheck to paycheck. I've never owned a new car, so until a president can stand up and stop all this price gouging and keep the country out of the hands of the 4 or 5 people that are worth billions of dollars. And I don't, it's like I don't really have
and unfortunately it's not going to happen because
this is the way America's been since it was founded. So
when you boil things down, you get to a point where R&D doesn't make any difference. There are similarities, even either higher or lower, depending, than R&D. And until that is not the case, fundamentally, they're going to be the same.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I truly believe that there are people in this world that got into politics originally because they truly wanted to help their fellow man. They wanted to help humanity, but something happens to them along the way. They just immediately, there's just so much corruption and money changing hands that
they fall victim to the machine. It takes some longer than others, but they fall victim to the machine. And it's like, well, wow, you're not any different. Yeah, you're right. They're not any different. Mm-hmm. So, and if you think that this person or you think that you will be different, no, it's not going to happen. Everybody will, from all these different outlooks, everybody eventually gets down to the 1 or 2 or 3 outlooks, no matter where they came from. And it turns out to be the same.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing with most people when they are voting for someone, it ultimately comes down to 1 or 2 issues, and that's it. It's like, I could give a crap, it's like, I'm voting for this guy because he believes in this one issue. Everything else he believes in is completely opposite that what I believe, but because of this one, that's why I'm, and I get it. I think there are, obviously there are politicians that, some of the things they want to do happen to align with the way I feel. Mm-hmm. And so that's who you got to gravitate towards, right? It's like you seem to, though I'm sure you're just one corrupt MFer, you seem to want to still kind of make your money from the lobbyists who are trying to change this part of America. And that's the part of America I want changed. So
I'll give you your chance. I kind of suspect how things are going to turn out, but I'll go ahead and do it. Yeah. So
I've always leaned left. And it's funny because my parents were Republicans until my dad. Do you remember I'm sure I've talked about this before. Do you remember the air traffic controllers strike in the early 80s?
Yes.
My dad was an air traffic controller.
Oh,
and he got all of the striking air traffic controllers got, a letter from Ronald Reagan saying that he was going to end the strike. Vote for him, get him in office, and he's gonna make things better for them. And they all he gets elected, and then they all lose their jobs. And my parents went, "We're Democrats now," just boom. Because we struggled for a long time because of that. So
I can certainly understand that. That's we got really political there, but that's the way it is for most people. It's the one thing, boom, Right. I'll vote for you because you said you would.
Yeah. There's just too many freaking issues. There's too many things that need to be fixed that you're never going to find one person that wants to fix every single thing you want to have fixed. You're just not.
No.
So you go for what they call the lesser of two evils, really, is what it comes to. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, I need to stop or I'm gonna get up on a box here.
Speaking of Golden Age Superman, have you been listening to Superman Radio Revisited?
Not so much lately. There, I've dropped off recently.
I wasn't listening during the previous storyline, the Dragon's Fang or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But this new one is all about. I'm only 2 episodes in, but Clark and Jimmy are on a clipper ship, the last of the clipper ships. I think that's what the story is called. And there's an old sailor with a wooden leg who wants the clipper ship, and he's the bad guy. And it's just so funny because he calls everybody matey, and he like at one point, "You're making a big mistake, matey." It's so funny. Yep. It's some good stuff. It's really funny stuff. And again, when I listen to that show, when I listen to those old radio programs, and then I read these stories that we're reading for the show, I hear the radio program because it's the same language. It's the same flow. It's fun.
Yep. Yeah. You definitely can see the one people in the other, whichever way. Exactly. Yeah. All right. You ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
All righty. Today, folks, we're looking at Luthor's Incense Menace, which appeared in Superman number 5. I believe this was the 3rd story in Superman number 5. This is written by Jerry Siegel, penciled by Joe Shuster, and inked by Paul Cassidy. Superman number 5, as we spoke on last episode, was dated summer 1940, but has an actual sale date of May 10th, 1940, according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics, which is also where the synopsis for the issue comes from, and it follows. Clark Kent investigates a sudden wave of unemployment. After questioning several business leaders and noticing a smell of incense in their offices, Clark inquires about it to a businessman, Mr. Gregory. Now, Mr. Gregory denies its importance, but when Kent leaves, Gregory calls a secret boss, who then orders the Daily Planet bombed. Actual bombed, people. Superman stops the bombing and returns as Kent to Gregory's office. The man commits suicide and makes it look like Kent is responsible. Clark gets out before the police arrive and returns to help them realize it was indeed a suicide. Clark continues his investigation, which leads him to a ruthless businessman, Borden Mosley. Mosley refuses to see Kent, so Clark sneaks into the building another way and overhears Mosley's plan. The crook sees Clark hiding. This is kind of something that you mentioned about hiding in plain sight kind of thing. Happens here. Clark is hiding and his henchmen throw him down an elevator shaft. That old trick. Clark survives and confronts the crooks as Superman after learning the true villain is Luthor. Following Mosley to a secret hideout, Superman encounters many traps. He catches up to Mosley and learns of a conference where the leaders of the conspiracy are meeting. The Man of Steel disguises himself as Mosley and attends the meeting. Luthor sees through his disguise, but Superman overcomes his foes. Luthor apparently is killed in a plane crash. We've seen that before. Superman then works to free the business leaders from Luthor's influence, for the incense was a narcotic Luthor supplied to gain power over them. With the men cured, the nation begins to prosper again. So several newish, different things happened in this story. First of all, I enjoyed this quite a bit. It felt similar to the previous story, which also felt different from a lot of what has been going on up until now. So it had kind of a uniqueness to it, to me, as far as how it felt in reading it. Several things happened or have been happening since the previous story, and those same types of things happened again in this story. It was cool. We definitely are starting to see, I think, that Luthor is going to be although we've thought this previously, a longtime foe of Superman that they can use and get away from and use and get away, keep arch villain, arch enemy, if that's what you want to call him. I think it's going to take a little bit more time before Superman has any arches. But Luthor is definitely starting to work his way up that list. And Luthor is always trying things. It's like he feels something out there can defeat Superman. And so when Superman goes up against him, it's always a series of newer things or newer ideas that are tried to see, does it damage? What does it do? How does Superman shake it off? How much time does it take him to recover? Whatever. It's almost like it's a step in and feint that Luthor is doing whenever he faces Superman. He goes in and he comes out and goes in and comes out, trying to find that thing that will finally put Superman down. And it's always funny. Somewhere in the story is that one thing that does, because Superman realizes that that's what he needs to do. It doesn't really work, but for that particular moment, Superman allows it to work or pretends that it works or whatever. Only, and Luthor's like, oh, that's it. Finally found. And then Superman comes back and he's like, no, you didn't. I was just pretending.
Psych.
It's, So what'd you think, Steven?
I enjoyed it as well, but I also found it to be like this confusing whirlwind of ideas that they just felt like they were just kind of throwing stuff at the wall, and whether it stuck or not, it went in the book because, well, for example, when he goes in to talk to the first businessman, because the chief is like, hey, the nation is going through some kind of bad financial crisis. Why don't you go out there and talk to businessmen and see what you can find out? So he goes to the first guy, and as he's talking to people, he smells this incense. Every guy he talks to, it's this incense. So when he brings it up to the one guy, and then he goes outside, and suddenly a bomber flies up and starts dropping bombs. I'm like, okay, did I miss a page? Where did this come from? And he stops that, and then he goes back to the guy who just commits suicide, but he does it in a way to try to frame Clark for murdering him. And then it's like, okay, so who's the bad guy? Is this the bad guy? Okay, this is the bad guy. Oh no, this is the bad. Oh no, it's Luthor. It's just, and we actually had a big first in this one. Superman's costume.
Yes.
He explains that what was it? When they threw acid on him or something, his costume is made from a material that he invented,
right? That
is indestructible,
right?
And basically, I read that as, they don't want to be drawn his costume all torn to shreds because that's just too much work. So it's indestructible. We don't have to worry about continuity. Was his cape ripped in the last panel? That kind of stuff. So that I thought was funny. I invented it. It's indestructible. It's like, you don't know about the fabric. It's from Canada. You don't know about it.
You've never seen it. It's Although honestly, at this point, you've got to wonder, where did it come from? I mean, because he's a grown man, so it's not like unless it grows with him, and that would be kind of freaky. Did Ma Kent make it? No, she couldn't have made it because it's impervious. So it just is.
They literally say, he says in the comic that he invented the fabric. That's as far as he goes. He invented it.
Yep.
We also, I don't know if this showed up in an earlier issue, but we have Superman contorting his face so that he looks like this other guy. It's like, that's some Plastic Man level stuff, And so, I mean, I know that he has posed as other people before, the boxer, Larry Trent, and the football player, but that was always with the use of makeup.
He's got a guy.
Doug says he's got a guy. Yeah,
he's got a guy.
I got a impervious fabric guy.
Yeah, I got a guy. I know a guy. It's
yeah.
But you're right.
The guy's me because I invented it. Because that's what I do. But he just
used makeup, or if he did do this same thing, they never said that that's what he did.
Yeah, exactly. And so he can contort the muscles in his face so that his head and face change shape and his hair changes color.
Right.
That's some crazy golden age stuff right there.
That's some awesome control. Right. Yep. That's exactly what that is. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That's like Plastic Man level kind of. Yeah.
But even Plastic Man, when he changed his shape, he still had the same Plastic Man color scheme.
Right. He just hid part of it or something like that somewhere else. Yeah.
We also have a gray-haired Luthor in this one. But yeah, there's just a lot of stuff. The incense, I mean, the title of the story is what? Luthor's
Menace.
Incense Menace.
Yes.
And the incense was given to these businessmen and they're forced to smell it at all times because it makes them want to follow him or so. I don't remember exactly what the incense was all about. But then there's this drug. Do they say the name? They don't say the name of the drug in the synopsis. God, what was the name of that? No, that's not this one.
No, it's the next one.
No, that's the next one. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
See, I'm all confused because of the incense that is.
Yeah, they said it was, didn't they say it was like narcotic?
Yeah, it's a narcotic incense. So they're getting all stoned. They're getting all high. And then they're like, hey, man, could you give me some of that incense again, man? I need some of that incense.
They're doing the 40s ayahuasca, and then they're looking to Luthor to be their Lord and Savior while they're on their ayahuasca high, or he's the priest leading them through their
he's the pusher man. He's control through drugs. That's what Luthor has come to at this point. He's drugging his followers.
And isn't that what people have tried over the years to do successfully? Is control a given group of people via drugs. That's
And Clark hiding in that closet, and at first the henchman and the boss are talking, and the boss is like, "Hold on, I got to put my jacket and hat away. I can't pay attention while I'm got my jacket and hat." And you see his hand going into the closet to hang up his jacket and hat. But obviously he's turned in the opposite direction. He's not looking. We don't see that, but Clark's in there going, good, he didn't see me, even though he's right there. So obviously the guy's just doing it from memory. He's not even looking in the closet. But then, of course, they discover him because they see his feet underneath the suit that's hanging there. They're like, hey, there's some feet. And then, they throw him down an elevator shaft, which was that's a good thing. I mean, that was a smart thing for them to do. But
that's classic. Get rid of somebody. Just pitch him down the elevator shaft.
Yeah, throw him down the elevator, and then you guys are going to have to get down there right away to collect his corpse.
Right. Yeah.
So
we can't leave him there.
But the bomber thing that just threw me through a loop at first because it just seemed to come out of nowhere.
For those of you that don't have access, haven't read it, won't read the story, whatever, this was it was an airdrop bomb. That's what the businessman told somebody that a nosy reporter had been there, and the effect was that the big boss sent a bomber to bomb the Daily Planet building, like plane, fly, release bomb. And actually it wasn't one. The panel shows Superman holding 3 or 4 bombs. I mean, he's jumping each time. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, he's in the air and he's gathered them up, and he's, it says he throws them like into the bay or something like that. Yeah. But it's like, and the synopsis, said the connection that you had to make reading those panels, because the connection wasn't there. The businessman just called somebody and said, hey, I just had a snoopy reporter. And then the next thing, Clark is changing into Superman and jumping up to grab bombs before they hit the planet.
Yeah, I think he says something in his head. He's thinking to himself. I think Superman says something like, obviously they tried to bomb the Daily Planet or something to get me off the case. I feel like he said something like that, but it happened so instantaneous. It felt like it just like he literally goes into the guy's office, says, "Hey, what's up with this incense?" And it's nothing. And then as Clark is leaving, the guy picks up the phone. "Hey, somebody's asking about incense." And then the moment Clark steps out onto the street, there's already a bomber in the air above him dropping bombs. It just, it's so weird.
Yeah, it happened pretty quick. A bomber ready to discharge its cargo. He notices.
Yeah, with his telescopic vision.
Yeah. Anyways, going to blow up the Daily Planet, eh? Not if I can help. Yeah. Whew.
Yeah. He used his telescopic vision in the last story too, because he spotted like the thugs messing with the paper boy or something from across the city.
Well, he saw when the truck got knocked off the cliff.
That's right. Yeah,
with his telescopic vision.
He's able. Yeah. But we also get another scene of his jump flying with the gyroplane, where he just happens to jump and dodge bullets and land on the plane and all that stuff. And, he's amazing in the air for somebody who can't fly.
Everything that you could not do on just one set of motion, up and down. That's all there is if you're going to jump up and down. But exactly. He's over here having jumped, but then he winds up over here, and it's like, okay, just say he can fly.
And I think we get more of that in the third story, like to the point where he's actually doing acrobatics in the air, but we'll get to that. I probably my favorite scene or part of this story was when Superman follows the guy to Luthor's lair, and then he has to go through all the traps, and he falls into he's like going through this tunnel, and the floor opens up underneath him, and he falls into this pit with spikes, but they're all bent from where he lands on him because he's superhuman. And he says, "Odd, but I'm actually a bit comfortable." It's just all these one-liners. He gets acid poured on him. He gets in between a couple of antenna that do something, but
they send out bolts of electricity.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He gets caught in between them in essence.
Yeah. It was good. It was fun. I enjoyed it. So far, everything from this issue, Superman 5, has been just been a ball. But this one just seemed, like I said, they were just throwing ideas at the wall, and whether it stuck or not, it got into the issue, into the story.
The things seemed a little bit more frenetic in this issue. There wasn't as much connection. It was just like you say, let's try this. Well, what if he this, and how about that? And so they just wrote it in there. And there was no one thing leading to the next. It was just thing after thing after thing. So
yeah, I mean, they kind of did that in the previous story with the newspapers, because he was just all over the place, but it all had to do with him stopping the rival newspaper from doing various bits of violence against Daily Planet people. But it was just like, he's there, but it all had something to do with one central theme. Whereas this, it does, but it's just so many different things going on at the same time. Not quite the same
way. Everything isn't necessarily because of the same issue. It just, the issue is happening there and it's happening over here. This was like, no, each time was a completely different issue that he was having to do something about, deal with, or whatever. I just wonder if, this is the 5th issue of his book, and we've talked about 25 or 26 strips from Action. So, we're upwards to 40 different stories. And so I guess they're trying to, having gotten away from the newspaper type writing, which newspaper adventures can stretch out for weeks, months at a time, literally months at a time. Here, they're like, no, we've got to wrap this up. If not this issue, then the next issue, or if not this issue, then in the Superman issue that comes out in 2 weeks, wrap it up so we can do something new to get people interested. And then the next time, the same thing. And, we can't rely on these long-term people that will start and we'll get them locked in and they'll keep going. We constantly got to try to bring in new people with new and different things, it feels like. And that's seems to be where the stories have certainly gotten to at this point. And from this point, that never lets up. It goes back and maybe stretches out a little bit over time, that they take a little bit more time. But you can see now it's the start of that. Every issue here, it's every story is somebody's first story. So we have to do those things to bring them in and to keep them. And if they don't stay for the next story, we have to throw something in it that gets somebody new to replace that person that didn't stay. But getting a lot more frenetic and energetic.
Yeah. It's like their goal is there has to be at least one action panel on every page. We can't have a page go by that something exciting isn't happening. I mean, that doesn't, there is one page that isn't like, I guess the most exciting thing that's happening is Clark climbing up the side of the building like Spider-Man.
But that was something new.
Yeah.
We've not seen him do
it actually
that.
Says he's digging his fingers into the mortar to make finger holds.
Being Superman, it's like, well, why hasn't he been doing that the whole time if he wants to do something? I mean, just climb up that
Or why
puppy.
doesn't he just jump?
Why doesn't he just fly?
Yeah, exactly.
Doug says that's one thing I love about Golden Age stories. They'll just put in some really wild stuff and not worry about the reality of it. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And it even, depending on what books you're reading, it even ratchets up in the Silver Age that it becomes even more wild and out there, just whatever idea. And then when the Bronze Age comes around, they kind of try to, as much as you can, reality-based things a little bit and kind of, chill out the whatever you want to do kind of stuff that went from golden to Silver Age. And then they're like, no, we gotta bring it back to write actual stories and explain things and everything like that. But yeah, some of the Silver Age stuff, particularly these characters like Superman, who's over the top to begin with. I mean, Superman can do anything that you want him to do, within reason. But he whatever, and you can just say like, oh well, I invented the cloth myself. That's why it doesn't disintegrate in acid. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Nowadays you couldn't do that, man. People would just lose their minds about, oh, that can't be because, well,
yeah, that is honestly, how we get the Superman we have today. Because you look at his first couple of appearances, really he's just a strong guy who can jump far and run fast and bullets bounce off of him. Mm-hmm. That was it. But as the stories progress, every time they put him in a situation that they need to get him out of,
exactly,
most of the time they just invent a new power so that he can get out of it. Oh, now he's got telescopic vision. Or, oh, now he can see through things and heat vision and freeze breath. And, it's like,
Doug, you're right. I've been reading some Silver Age JLA for, another show that I do about Dr. Fate. And I've been reading the JLA, JSA team-ups throughout the 60s. And it's some Brave and the Bold I've been reading too through the 60s. It's, wow, yeah.
I recently read the first JLA story, with Starro.
Yes, okay.
And because they have like Justice League in the Silver Age Volume 1 available through Comixology Unlimited. So I stuck it in my queue and sat down the other day and read the first issue. And I was just like, Snapper Carr has to be the single most annoying character in the history of comics. And I'm afraid to go on to the next issue in case he's in it. Because, he's always snapped. I want to punch him in his face But
you'll have to make the call. Either you're going to read JLA, or it's like because
isn't he basically like the Rick Jones for the JLA? He's just like their sidekick. He's always there.
Yeah, and actually,
annoying.
In a lot of ways, Rick Jones turns out to be a little bit better character because at least they use him with other people. Yeah. Snapper Carr, other than the JLA, I believe really doesn't get used too much more. Yeah. At least Rick Jones turns out to be a foil that you see against Hulk, Captain America, Captain Marvel. Snapper Carr is just he's one annoying biatch. It's with his hip. Kind of, all right, okay.
Yeah, and the way he talks, that no teenager has ever talked like that in the history of the world, unless they were doing it ironically.
And you say that, but of course, it's not Snapper's fault because he is, he is being written by somebody.
Right.
That person obviously doesn't know what in the heck is going on with that, but, it comes across through poor Snapper, and you're like, I don't think teenagers then were ever like that.
Right. And I wish I had the writer in front of me so I could say, did you mean for Snapper Carr to be that annoying? Because he's freaking annoying.
Or just ask him, did you know teenagers that were like that? When you were a teenager? Is
Have
that
you ever met a teenager?
There you go. Do you know what a teenager is?
He saw Dobie Gillis and was looking at who is Bob Denver's character on Dobie Gillis. Can't think of his name, but he was the beatnik.
Yeah.
And I think he just he watched a couple of those episodes and just said, all right, that's Snapper Carr, but we're going to make him more
Maynard. Maynard G. Krebs.
Yep, Maynard Krebs. That's right.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep. That's the guy. Whenever I talk about the street beatniks from the Madman comics, I say, look at Maynard G. Krebs.
Yes.
He's a street. If he was living on the streets, he would be a street beatnik. That's what a beatnik is Maynard G. Krebs.
And since you mentioned Mr. Denver, let me go ahead and throw out that his wife was born probably 2 hours from here. And when he got done and retired, they retired here, very, very close to my community. And this is ultimately where, unfortunately, he passed away. Dreama. I think Dreama's still alive.
Yeah. Did you ever run into him out in the wild, like at the grocery store or anything?
I never saw him, but they do still, and he was on it when he was alive. They did start a local radio station, Good Buddy Radio.
Nice.
And you could listen to a nice variety of older songs, which you would expect. But when they first started it, he was an on-air personality most days when the station was on the air. So you could actually listen to him, and he would have stories related to the songs or the music, or how he and Dreama met, and things like that you would expect from someone his age who was in that stage of life where that's what they did. They reminisced. But yeah, probably I don't know, 6-8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, he died, unfortunately. And so he's no longer with us, but his wife still is, and she still has the radio station. It's still running. She makes appearances. I have run into her. I've been somewhere that Dreama was. She'll be on the radio every now and then too. So that's always kind of a cool thing, is that as personalities go, he was a pretty well-known dude. And the fact that he retired here, ultimately, it's like, if we're going to claim to fame something, Bob Denver is a good one to, we'll grab onto that.
Yeah. I think maybe it's Hugh Beaumont, is from Lawrence.
Okay.
Which is, 15 minutes that way. But, did the closest I've ever come to something like that, though, is, most people I ask, they've never heard of the guy, but did you ever watch Raising Hope or My Name is Earl? He was the guy that ran the grocery store in Raising Hope, And in My Name is Earl, he was like the first person that Earl had to go, fix what he did to him. He was like he was gay.
Yes.
And then Earl had to try to fix him up. He's from Topeka, which is Lawrence is that way. Topeka's that way.
Okay.
And when I used to work at the freaking Walgreens in Lawrence, I'm up at the counter one night and he walks in and I went, that looks like, I didn't know his name. And I still can't off the top of my head, I can't remember his name, but I grabbed my phone. I looked up, Raising Hope and and then he comes to the counter and he's got this, his son is with him. And I said, "Are you whatever his name is?" He goes, "Yes, I am." And I said, "I love Raising Hope. I love you in that show." And he looks at his son and he goes, see, some people know me. And apparently either he's from Topeka or the woman he married is from Topeka. And then he moved to Topeka to be with her.
Right.
And then he went to California or whatever to do the acting thing. And then eventually he lives in Topeka.
Came back. That's cool. Yeah.
All right. I got nothing else to say about this story.
Yeah, I think I'm good too.
Okay. Wrap it up.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Until next week, I'm Ed. That is Steeven. And this was the Superman Super Show. Ciao.
Bye-bye. You've been listening to the Superman Super Show. Questions and comments can be directed to the Superman Super Show at gmail.com. You can follow the show on Twitter under the handle @SoupsSuperShow. That's @SUPS Super Show. And continue the conversation at the Super Show Forum at forums.justanotherfanboy.com. We also encourage you to rate the show wherever available and share this podcast with a friend. All links will be in the show notes.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Action Comics magazine.
Speaking of which, do you find that whenever somebody you work with or, some acquaintance learns that you're into comics, that they immediately start going, I've got some old comics at home. Do you think you could look at them and tell me how much they're worth? And
absolutely.
You go, oh, God.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's like, no, because what I'd have to do is look them up online. I can't just look at a comic and go, well, that's worth this much.
Which is the exact same thing I would recommend you do. So.
Exactly.